All right, Jerry, I need to hear what you have to say now. What the hell? What's
tell
your
me what
problem?
the
What's
fuck.
your problem?
Why don't you go first?
No, I need to hear you right now, and I'll rebuttal. Go.
Right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Targeting Podcast.
Yes, sir.
Boys,
Wonderful.
how are we doing today?
Wonderful.
Absolutely great, man. How about you?
Not bad. We had a pretty interesting week, and I'm excited to talk about it with you boys. You know,
There's a lot.
There's a lot. But first, as always, let's go with the players of the week. So, Justin, do you want to start us off with your player of the week?
Yes, sir. I will. You know what? And I'll preface it by saying it might be hard to get out because I'm in cardiac arrest. But cardiac Kemba Walker is back, baby. And our last episode, appreciate the love on the last episode from all you guys, by the way. And hit the like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram if you haven't already. But our last episode was about the Celtics struggling. And since then, we've gone 4-0 thanks to Kemba Walker being our best player. Guy averaged 24, 7, and 4, but the numbers aren't even everything. It's just how impactful he was. Makes everybody on the floor better. It's his presence. And when he's rolling, he makes everybody on the floor better. And I saw something that these numbers might not be exactly right, but I believe we're like when Kemba scores over 20, we're 8-2, and when Kemba scores under 20, we're 2-8 or something like. I think those are the numbers, but
it changes the momentum.
he's everything. He's everything, and you know, as great as Jalen and Jason are, and those two guys are incredible, and they're gonna go put on a show at the All-Star game this weekend. But Kemba, they don't necessarily make everybody on the floor better in the ways that Smart does and Kemba Walker does when he's rolling. Kemba makes everybody on the team better, and him playing it great this week is all of the reason why he went 4-0. So shout out to K-Walk. He's finally got his legs under him. K-Walk is back, baby. K-Walk is back.
Love to hear, Justin. Love to hear. All right, John, let's go with your player. Actually, we'll go with my player of the week, and then we'll go with John. I know John has a special player of the week. But so my player of the week is Joel Embiid. Once again, man is just going off his last 3 games, 40 points, 24 points, and 42 points for Joel Embiid. Personally, and I said this on previous pods, he bothers me a little bit with the whole Donovan Mitchell situation, and we can get into that a little later. But he's playing unbelievable, and if he keeps it up, honestly, I don't see who else is getting the MVP this season. I think he deserves it. I think he's playing out of his mind. The shots he's been able to make. Did you guys see that? I think it was a game winner. I don't know.
It was the one to force overtime against the Jazz.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? This guy, he was like in the post, sort of lost his dribble, stepped all the way back behind the arc and hit a wicked contested 3.
Crazy.
I mean, for a 7-footer doing that, I mean,
crazy.
He's incredible.
It's crazy.
He's incredible.
So he's playing just unbelievable. Really, honestly, changing the landscape. Like now, like centers all of a sudden have to become dominant apparently because this man is just putting up 40 points.
Giannis is now taking threes because you got to play better basketball now that Joel Embiid can take threes. You know,
it's a different game. It's a different game, and it's becoming increasingly just go to the outside. No one even like. It was amazing to see that play because Joel Embiid was literally knee deep in the paint and just like dribbled out to the 3 to intentionally. It was crazy.
And even that 3 was smothered. Like, how did it go in?
Yeah, it was heavily contested. Crazy.
I know. No, he's incredible. And actually, I'm glad. I like what you just said there about changing the landscape because you see the league is turning from big men dominance to all guard play. And Joel Embiid is saying, look at, big men still matter. Like big men still matter. He has proven that centers are still super important to this game. And man, he is incredible.
It's crazy. Yeah. But John, let's go with your play of the week next to cap it off.
I'm going to go with a nice OSU legend. Guy is averaging 19.7 points, and that doesn't even do it justice because he's really just, I mean, the average is there, but the last couple games he's got like above 20. One game in particular, though, I'm going to talk about against Oklahoma University, which is a huge game for them. Number 7, too. They were ranked number 7. Cade Cunningham, arguably number 1 pick right now in the NBA draft so far. 40 points. Fucking 3 steals, 2 blocks, 1 assist, 11 rebounds. I mean, he shot 92.9 Free throws, field goals was 57. 3-pointers was 37.5. 44 minutes out there. That's the highest that he's had the whole entire week of playing. Like, that's some good basketball right there. That's just stellar basketball from a college athlete.
Yeah, that was a showdown. Obviously, a big time rivalry there. The Battle of Oklahoma, and you're absolutely right. Cade Cunningham has been ridiculous. I mean, he's been by far the best player in college basketball, if you ask me. I don't see any possible way he doesn't go number one, and I think he's going to be instantly one of the best number one picks in recent history. I think he's going to be incredible in the NBA.
And they played Oklahoma University back to back, right? Again, it was a couple days apart, but back to back. Oklahoma University was 7th, right? They beat them. Oklahoma University fell to 16th. They beat them again. So Oklahoma University has fallen with these 2 big losses to OSU. Not to say OSU is a bad team, but OSU is definitely raising the bar for them in the Selection Sunday potential for themselves. And we're going to see some great fucking March Madness basketball, and we're going to have some great discussions for all of you. And I wanted to mention them because of this Selection Sunday coming up pretty soon. Baylor, one of the teams that I usually pick every year to at least win in one of my brackets, is having a fucking unbelievable season. Unfortunately, Cade Cunningham rolled his ankle against them in an 81-70 loss. Still put up 24 points, though, but I think he'll be ready for March Madness, but he'll probably be, sitting. For any OSU fans out there, he'll be sitting for a little bit. So,
yeah, I guess I want to talk a little bit about March Madness, and then we can go right into the NBA. Are you guys? So, of course, every single year, March Madness is a great time, and we're all excited for it. But this year, are you guys feeling like a different way this year? Do you feel like, because there's not really in my opinion, like a dominant team where I can fully with confidence be like, that team's going to go far. There's definitely good teams and teams that deserve to be the number one seed: Baylor, Gonzaga, Illinois, teams like that. It feels like everyone's equal. Like, it's not like there's one team where I'm like, all right, well, they're definitely going to get to the Elite Eight.
I'll say this year with the level of basketball we've seen, and I mean, I'll just say it with the NBA. NBA has, over the past decade, doubled the number of 20 points per game players that have performed. Went from 22, I think, to now 43. So they've doubled.
20 to 43. That was actually my stat of the week too. So I'm glad you said that, because don't worry about it. Yeah, in 10 years, they've more than doubled to 20 point per game players, which is
that is a
incredible.
Huge increase in percentage wise of 20 point per game players out there. And this season too, with March Madness, I mean, I look at these teams. I mean, Gonzaga, Michigan, Baylor, usually teams that are always in this bracket. Michigan and Gonzaga usually are in the top 5 typically, but this is one of those seasons where I don't see Gonzaga as like the team that is killing like they usually do. I mean, Baylor has an equal chance of winning, I think, against Gonzaga as Gonzaga does against Baylor. And there are teams on here that I just have not seen be like Albion, Christian, fucking. I mean, I'm just looking at it right now, but we got Prairie View.
Yeah, no, I think you
James
bring up
Madison. A lot of teams that are doing well that are smaller schools, and I just think the level of competition across sports, especially with this pandemic, I think everyone is trying to now make up for lost time and that terrible way of handling it the last time around. And I think that people really want to show up to play, and that's why we have such better playing basketball. Not to say that it wasn't good the other seasons, but everyone has raised the bar in how they play in every sport.
Yeah, that's true, John. What were you going to say, Justin?
No, I think you bring up a great point, and I completely agree with you in the fact that there's no Duke team with Zion, RJ Barrett, and Cam Reddish this year. Like, there's no team that you look at that's like, okay, they should be the one to win it. If they're not crowned, it's a bust for them on the season. But I think it's going to be all across the board, just unbelievable games, great competition between 1 through 16 seeds. I think I definitely agree with you that it's a good spread of teams that are really good, and a lot of it's going to be even matches. I think for a lot of these games.
I think it'll be tougher picking this year. In all honesty,
I don't even know where I'm gonna go, because there's always I always can rely on my big 4, like Kentucky.
Yeah. And especially me sitting here at University of Kentucky, I don't really know what's going on, and it feels surreal to think that we're not going to be in the tournament. So
yeah, they're not in it right now at the current moment.
The only way they get in is if we win the SEC tournament. There's no way we get in.
And UConn this season has now made UConn is not always making it the recent years. They've kind of falling down and they're making it.
Justin, you never know. Like, I mean, if Kentucky can get their shit together for the SEC tournament, I mean, Bama's playing well. I think
Bama's really good. Bama's really good, but you're absolutely right.
By Bama. You got crushed by. I'm sorry, you got crushed by Bama.
I know. But we could. You can't count out Cal and Kentucky ever. So I agree with you. In the SEC tournament, I just think we go on a run. You never know.
Yeah, an SEC tournament winning an SEC tournament isn't like the craziest thing in the world for me to think about. Like, I'm like, all right, like that could happen.
We'll be the 7 or 8 seed in the SEC tournament. We'll see what we can do. Win a couple games. Hopefully, we get something rolling.
I think for this March Madness, part of the importance here is teams that have been there before, teams that have that experience, at least in the recent years, which a lot of these teams do. But for me, March Madness, it's even more different than pro sports. You don't know what's going to happen. You really don't. They surprise you every year. Virginia had an unbelievable season. Unfortunately, Jerry had them as the 1 seed. They just fell to the whatever the hell their name was, the weird ass Hounds or whatever.
And then
Golden Labs.
What happened to the following year? I believe they won it all, right?
Yeah.
We haven't had another tournament.
Okay, so
we're still national champions.
I'm
still
sorry.
The reigning champs.
Hey, Jerry, I forgot. Everyone doesn't know, but it tends to be a recurring consistency where Jerry tends to interrupt the middle of my sentence with the beginning of his. So let's just
John, let me ask you, John, is WPI got a chance of getting in the NCAA tournament? Let me ask you that.
No, we don't, because we're a primarily rowing school. We row. Okay. All right. So I'm sorry that I'm going to a school for an education.
All right.
But I do think when you brought up you don't know where you're going to go with your bracket, and I definitely agree. I'm going to have to sit down, take a look at the bracket. Obviously, we'll have to see how Selection Sunday goes. But I'll tell you, I might be taking OSU because Cade Cunningham is the best player in college basketball, and I feel like this guy's going to go on a ridiculous run.
I know my top 4, but I don't even believe that those top 4 are still the top 4 that could potentially win because there's so many great teams.
Well,
we'll definitely do a full-on episode about March Madness.
100%.
That's the annoying thing for me, and we'll move on. But that's the only thing I wanted to say was I usually have my teams that I know will get like at least one of them will get to the Elite 8 or the Final 4. Where this, I just feel like one team can make a run, or I think multiple teams can make a run, and you can just have like a completely Final 4 that you will not expect. But
I agree. I think that will be. I think that will happen. I think the Final 4 is going to be something we were not expecting. I do agree with that. We can move on. But.
I got to talk to Presh though, because Arizona, my team I usually go with at least in one bracket, is just not looking like they're making it.
Hey, he's at ASU though. He's at ASU, and they are not.
Oh, he's at ASU. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, he's not anywhere right now, but we don't have to talk about that. Anyways, we can move into the NBA real quick. Devin Booker. Devin Booker was replacing Anthony Davis, and now Mike Conley has replaced Devin Booker. And I guess I just got to get your thoughts on this, boys, because I know I'm not. Look at Mike Conley. He's never made an All-Star game in his entire career, so I'm happy for him. He finally got it because he had a lot of great years in Memphis, and he got snubbed a lot there. But now is not his time. And with De'Aaron Fox and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and DeMar DeRozan and Brandon Ingram, he was not the guy that deserved it. But all you guys, I want to pass it to you guys.
I'll take it right away real quick if that's okay with Jerry. Mike Conley, always loved the guy. Great basketball player. No disrespect for him. I think, again, this is what pisses me off. It plays into politics this year. Just because the Jazz are the number 1 seed and they won.
Well, and I don't think that's politics. So I'm happy to see that. I think that's because they're winning. He got rewarded for the winning team, and I agree. I like that. It would have been more upset if it was more political. Here's my thing:
is every team but the Spurs have a player that's above 500 have a player in the All-Star game. So my thing is, when you already have 2 players on the Jazz that are already in the All-Star game, and you already know that there's a guy who has averaged more, has played better overall, and sure, he's probably had more appearances than Mike Conley. You shouldn't be giving it to I'm not saying Mike Conley doesn't deserve it. I'm not saying Mike Conley hasn't had a good season with the Jazz, and I'm happy he's on a good team now, and he's found his place. But I support DeMar DeRozan in this. I think DeMar was right. He said it's laughable.
Yeah.
He brought up the politics a little bit in his discussion, I think, or in his mention. And I see that point, I don't think it's necessarily the reason why he didn't get picked, but I also think that, it's just the NBA at the end of the day. That's just how it works. There's always going to be something like this that comes up, and people are going to get snubbed. And this year, honestly, more people got snubbed than I thought, and that's just because of the level of basketball. There could have been a lot of arguable.
Well, and like you said,
players.
now there's 43 20-point per game scorers, so they can't all make the All-Star team. But
I don't even think. But I understand it's his first appearance. I just don't. I think Mike Conley needs another season or two at the Jazz before you can just throw him in the All-Star game. I mean, DeMar DeRozan is just the Spurs always above 500 usually, and DeMar DeRozan has had a great season and they look promising, and he deserves to be an All-Star. I mean, that's what the All-Star is, a definition of a player who's going to bring his team up and carry that team and does considerably well all the time. Mike Conley's on a team that has 2 All-Stars, and he adds to the team, but I don't think he pushes them over that record. I don't think he's that push. DeMar DeRozan is that guy who carries that whole team on his back, in my opinion. Like Damian Lillard, that's a perfect example of I'm not comparing them, but the Portland Trailblazers has that one guy that's going to completely carry that team when it's Dame time. I think DeMar deserved that.
Yeah, on a lower level, but on
a lower level. Yeah. Again, I'm not comparing,
right,
but I just think that for teams that are around that 500 spot, their star.
No, I actually didn't.
It.
I didn't know what you just said there about the Spurs are the only team over 500 without an All-Star. I knew they were over 500. I didn't realize they were the only team without one. And now that you bring that up, I was thinking that De'Aaron Fox is having a great year. BI has been playing well, but they already got Zion in for them. But unacceptable. It should have been DeMar DeRozan, 100%. If they're over 500 and the only team without an All-Star, and you already this is the second replacement for an injury, there's no excuse for them not putting DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when I read it, they're the only team with an above 500, or maybe they're one of the 2 teams without an above 500. But either way, you can't snub a guy that's worked to get a team above 500. And that's
nobody thought the Spurs were going to be over 500 at this point in the year, and they are. So I agree with you. You got any thoughts, Jay?
I don't know. It's tough. I don't know how we got from 80 to Mike Conley. First of all, I just don't know how that happens. But
I'm a little pissed that we can't see. I'm a little pissed we can't see Devin Booker in there. But
yeah, literally. I don't know. It's complicated because the NBA, I think, needs to clarify what the purpose of this All-Star game is. Is it to acknowledge players that have impacted the NBA and led their teams to success? Or are we talking about just the 24 most popular guys in the NBA playing a game? I think that's what we have to distinguish. Because at this point, I don't want to see, I don't know about you guys. I love Mike Conley. He's a good player. I don't want to see him in an All-Star game. I don't care how well his team did. He probably deserve it, but does he probably deserve it? Yeah. But
he deserved it. He deserved it 5 years ago in Memphis, and I would have been okay. It would have been fun to see him then. But this is they just are trying to make up for the mistakes they made when he was in Memphis. But that was way too long ago to be doing that now.
Yeah, and you just got other guys like DeMar, like you're saying, De'Aaron Fox, that I would rather just see in an All-Star game. That I think that getting to Mike Conley, it's just good for you, bro. I'm happy for you, but I don't want to see you. I'm sorry. I realize what he's done for his team, but I think the NBA has to distinguish what the All-Star game really is, because it's becoming a popularity contest. And if that's the case, that's fine. Honestly, in respect, it probably should be. If you want people to watch, you're gonna pick the most popular players. You're not gonna pick bums. But you do have to, on some level, recognize the players for what they've done. But again, I just think Conley's, if you were going to give it to him, you should have given it to him 5 years ago, not now. This is I got
a whole thing on that. For me, you guys may disagree, but I understand that Giannis, Joel, LeBron are probably, and KD, and Steph, some of those guys are always going to be in there because they perform at that consistent level all the time.
And they play well, but
and that's fine with me. But what I want to say is, I think an All-Star, in my opinion, this is just me, and I do this because of hockey too. I do this for a lot of things because I think hockey and NFL do it a little differently, in my opinion, slightly differently. I think the All-Star is not for who the big name is every season, like you were saying. In the NBA. I don't think it should be the big name guy every season. It's LeBron, he should get in. A popularity thing, like you're saying. What I think it should be is this season, we have seen some of the most first appearances by guys. I think Julius Randle, Zach LaVine, those guys deserve the All-Star appearance because they've played such great basketball on teams that are above 500. And sure, they're struggling here and there, but those players are carrying that team. They're performing very well. I think De'Aaron Fox should have probably had a spot before some of the other guys that are on that lineup. I think Devin Booker, obviously, he got it, and it's unfortunate he got the injury. But what I'm saying is, I would rather see new guys come into these All-Star games who are younger, who really perform. Now, again, there's a difference between if it's your first season and you have a good season. Are you an All-Star? Probably not yet. Give it a season or two. But I don't think, Mike Conley, this is his year. But I also don't think you should have the same guys in that All-Star game just because of popularity for me.
I don't know if I can get behind you on that, actually. You're saying LeBron, Steph, Giannis, KD, those guys shouldn't be there every year just because they've been there before.
No.
Those guys are
that's
still
not what
the
I just
best
said.
players.
That's not what I just. That's not what I said. I said that those guys that play at that consistent level always should be given that spot.
Okay.
But
So, what's an example of a name that? Give me an example.
All right, let me pull it up because I don't remember all the selections.
Well, let me say one thing while he's pulling something up. Let me ask you a question. If Julius Randle has a down year and LeBron has a down year, are they both not making the All-Star game? No.
Well, but there's
game.
no such thing as a down year for LeBron. That doesn't exist.
Name
another player that would have a down year that you think would be in it when they didn't deserve it. LeBron will never have. That's not a thing. LeBron doesn't do down years. He doesn't do them.
Okay. All right. Let me.
I hear what you're saying. I really do.
I'm trying to think
I
of someone
what you're saying, and I agree with you that I like seeing new faces in the All-Star game.
But at
the same time, I don't think you should be taking out players because they've been there before.
James Harden.
You think James Harden didn't deserve to be there this year? He's averaging 25 and 11. He's leading the league.
I'm saying if he has a down year. If he has a down year, I'd say okay. I mean, I guess like a down year meaning like under 20 point per game score type of thing. Yeah.
I mean, he probably wouldn't be in it.
Under at 20. He'll be in it.
You think he would be? All right. I guess I could see that. So, okay. I do agree with you. And I agree with you, John, for sure. I like seeing new faces.
An example I'll give you right now is Chris Paul. Okay?
Yeah, that's perfect. I love it, actually.
So you know what?
Saying that. I agree. He should not have been there this year.
He is a guy who's been in the NBA for so long. He's the popular name. Everyone knows Chris Paul. He's moved to 4 different franchises. He's been an all-star selection, I think, with all 4 different teams. That's another stat. One of the only guys, I think, with LeBron, Shaq, and someone else that have been on 4 franchises, I think, or 3, that have been an all-star selection. Now, I'm not saying he isn't having a great season. He's averaging around 19 or 20. He's not, the Suns aren't doing.
I think it's more like 16 too. So I agree.
More 16. But my thing is that's where it pisses me off because I think Jeremy Grant maybe should have taken that spot, or I would have been more pissed like if Chris Paul had snagged the spot over Bradley Beal, which he didn't. But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's West versus East. But I hear you.
But just an example of
that's a perfect example. I'm glad you.
Because
a
player like Bradley Beal, who has had such a great season and has gotten snubbed in the past and has had these seasons on and off, but performs at like 40 points some games, shouldn't be snubbed from a spot for a guy who has a decent season but is there because he's popular. Chris Paul. That's what I'm saying. I know they're East and West, but still, that's like the only comparison I can really make here because I don't know everyone in the West who's playing at the level that Bradley Beal is and is getting snubbed like Chris Paul got in here. That's kind of what my thing is. I'm not saying like LeBron, Giannis, all these guys should be taken out. We should have a whole new lineup. I'm just saying.
I'm not saying that either.
I think there are just 1 or 2 players every year that get in there that shouldn't.
I agree. I think Chris Paul is the perfect example too.
I just think that there's a certain level where like if LeBron has a good season and some bum ass player also has a good season, you're gonna have to pick. Like LeBron's getting it every time.
Okay, I think we should stop using LeBron as an example.
Fine. I won't use LeBron because that's like the common James Harden. I'll use James Harden example.
All right, yeah.
But that's just my whole thing. I think it's. You can go. Go.
If James Harden's putting up 40, and Julius Randle's also putting up 40, and you're like, all right, who are we?
Julius Randle putting up 40. Okay, let me try to picture that.
I know what he's saying. I know what Jerry's saying. Jerry's saying that if there's a big name like
we'll go lower. We'll go lower. Let's say James Harden's putting up 30, and Julius Randle is also putting up like 25, 30 a night, and they have to pick. They're picking Harden every time
because he deserves it. He's averaging 30.
So is Julius Randle though.
But I can assure you Harden's team is winning more games than Julius Randle leading the team would.
Really?
I can bet on that. Harden has never missed the playoffs.
Let's just
Julius
suppose
Randle hasn't been to them. Julius Randle hasn't been.
We got to move on. We got to move
We'll
on.
move on. We'll move
real
on.
quick. All I'm going to say is let's just suppose Julius Randle had a winning team that was doing much better than Harden. Would you
Harden would
obviously?
still get
We're
in.
getting into some crazy ass hypotheticals, but I do agree with you guys.
Right, but I just think what Jerry's point is trying to prove is that we've all been accustomed to the big names always getting in. Now, me personally, I can get on board with most of these guys. I actually agree with a lot of these selections that they did, but really, it's only Chris Paul for me. But I think
Chris Paul was the one example this year. I think you're.
I could even argue one other guy who I think deserved it still, but Sabonis. I can still, he was one of those on the edge. He was an edge guy for me, and we actually had him at the missing it just by a margin.
And he got in on an injury replacement as well. And I think I would have rather seen. Well, actually, you know what? The Pacers are playing really well, and they did deserve to have one of their guys be an all-star. So I was going to say I'd rather see Trae Young, but Trae Young's team's losing more games than the Pacers are. So, I mean, it's hard to say. And every year there's going to be snubs. It's just the way it is. But we can move on. Actually, so you want to move to NFL, or do you have anything else for
I just want NBA? 2 quick things for NBA, and we can move down.
Go ahead.
So the Blake Griffin thing.
Yeah, I have this written down right here.
So I just want to talk about that briefly. Do you guys think he goes to the Nets?
Yeah,
I'll say right now. So he's getting this is another thing with what I wanted to talk about today, and I think you boys have seen this too. I mean, PJ Tucker as well is in this conversation with some of these teams. Nets, Heat, Lakers are looking at both Blake Griffin and PJ Tucker, with the add-in of the Bucks looking at PJ Tucker, and instead the Warriors and Clippers looking at Blake Griffin. So we see these big teams that are doing pretty well all over the board.
It's these veterans always want to go to contenders late in their career.
And I think these teams are looking to get some veteran experience out there because we already see the Nets are one of those teams right now who's trying to get – I mean, think about it. Andre Drummond, every team – like the Nets are always going for that one guy who's in free agency or who they could snag for low money because they know Blake Griffin just got bought out, right? Bought him out, contract over. He's going to be a free agent. They can get him easy for a lower contract. He'll probably sign with them. No biggie, so that he can play basketball still at a good team that's going to make the playoffs consistently. Maybe if the team stays together, I think he will go to the Nets. And I think if the Nets don't snag him, he'll probably be looking at. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers or Clippers could pull him up. I honestly wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if the Clippers would get him over the Lakers. I think the Lakers would probably grab him. But I think the Nets are looking to get Blake Griffin before PJ Tucker. But honestly, the Nets at this point are trying to grab everybody they can.
I think that the Nets are going to end up with Blake and Drummond, which is just a scary thought. But I think it's what's going to happen. Because they're both going to – Blake already has been bought out. And Drummond, they're not going to be able – Cavs aren't going to be able to find a trade for Drummond. And they're going to have to buy him out too. And why wouldn't they both go to the Nets and team up? That's basically a guaranteed ring. If Blake and Drummond both go there, you're looking at a lineup of Kyrie, Harden, Durant, Blake, Drummond. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's a guaranteed ring. With Joe Harris, Bruce Brown, DeAndre Jordan, all coming off quit playing. That team is ridiculous. And they'll have the money to do it because they won't need to sign for it.
I will say right now,
to sign for.
I think Blake Griffin is definitely going to the Nets. I think Blake Griffin is the type of guy, and I don't blame him. I mean, if you're Blake Griffin and you've had just seasons where you're just not getting to the winning percentile, you're not getting to the winning playoffs, you're not getting to where you want to go in your career, and you've played for so long, and you're not a bad basketball player, you just have gotten snubbed. Really, I think he's definitely. I mean, who wouldn't blame him to go to the Nets? And I think Justin is onto something, Jerry. If Drummond gets bought out again, because these guys are sitting on the bench right now. These guys are not playing. These teams are looking to get rid of him. Yeah. If he gets bought out and they can't somehow get rid of him for something, he'll get bought out, and the Nets will.
And then he can go sign with a contender for low money.
Nets will easily.
And why wouldn't they both? I'm just saying, it's possible that they could both say, "Let's team up. Let's go do it together in Brooklyn." And then they're not just teaming up with. It's not a Blake and Drummond duo. We saw that in Detroit for a few years there, and it didn't work. It's a fucking ridiculous starting five with Kyrie, Harden, and Durant in there.
I honestly see PJ Tucker probably going to the Bucks, and the Nets getting Blake Griffin, possibly Andre Drummond. That's just me, though. I think what
I will say real quick, Trey, before I know you seem like you want to get a word in. I'm sorry for keep interrupting. But what I will say about Blake is that I need to see him completely change his game, though. What he was 3 years ago when he was an all-star in Detroit, averaging like 25, and then he got injured. That player is nothing like the player we see today. This guy is he's a pussy on the floor. I'm sorry, he just is. He doesn't drive. He doesn't do anything. He sits in the corners and takes threes and shoots them at a horrible clip. That's all he does. He doesn't run the floor. He doesn't play defense. He doesn't do anything. He hasn't dunked the ball in 3 seasons. He hasn't dunked the ball in 3 seasons. Blake Griffin is a multi-time dunk champion winner. He was that's all he did was highlight dunks posters. He hasn't dunked in 3 years. That's terrible. He doesn't drive. He has no enthusiasm for the game of basketball. And I understand that he's on a losing team in Detroit, but if Brooklyn's going to go, Jeff Green is playing better than Blake Griffin is right now. And if Blake Griffin's going to come into Brooklyn and be worse than Jeff Green, then it's not a good acquisition for them because Jeff Green has been unbelievable in his veteran age, playing really good for Brooklyn. He's been super timely. He's been really good for them. But Blake Griffin has been horrible. And if he's going to go sign somewhere on a contender, he's going to need to play a completely different style of basketball.
I think honestly, and again, I'm not assuming anything, but I think Blake Griffin, I think if the Nets sign him, they're assuming that he's going to come to a team that has great ball handling, great movement of the ball, and that he'll actually do the style of basketball that he used to play. And I think you're right. That's actually a great point. I never even thought about that, the dunking. And it may possibly be he's on a losing team. The team's just bought him out, so maybe he's lost his motivation. So at this point, the Nets have to say, honestly, it probably is worth it just bringing him in for low money, seeing if he'll do something. Because if he performs at his level, that's a huge snag. But if he doesn't play at his level, then it's a him thing. It's not a team thing. I'll blame it on the Pistons right now if this is why he's in this little bit of a down bout. But if he doesn't step up, then Blake Griffin has just hit that complete peak of his career, and he is just going to go down with no motivation. And I think we can all get on board on that. I mean, the guy is not going to be an all-star. I mean, who's gonna want him if he's not going to have the motivation to get out there on the floor? And he should be the leader out there. Yeah, we all agree. I mean,
it doesn't hurt the Nets at all. Like,
it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Like if he plays well, then all right, you probably already getting a ring, so it doesn't really help. Like either way,
you just solidify that.
Yeah. So if he plays well, you solidify it. If he doesn't, who cares? If you still get people, and if they get Drummond too, you have almost like a second chance.
I don't see Drummond not performing for them.
I think
I see him performing well.
I think Blake Griffin could play well on that Nets team. I think he just needs a solid team, like a I don't know how to explain it, but
he's acting like
Gordon's there. So they played together when Blake was, Blake. So I think if he gets
that was the scariest front court in the NBA for a while.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Do you know what he's acting like? He's acting like the kid who gets picked last at the playground.
He's been miserable in Detroit. He suffered through it.
I know. And I'm not blaming him, but it's kind of like if you're gonna try, if you're gonna be at this performance, try. I understand it's tough, but I mean, we've all been there. I mean, everyone's had their bad days.
He's acting like Gordon Hayward right after he came from his injury, and even that was you were feeling bad.
I think Gordon Hayward's still trying a little bit more.
But he's just playing very soft. You
at least saw Gordon Hayward suffering out there, trying his best, and then it just didn't work for him. So now he's at Charlotte. He's doing much better. But Blake just seems to be suffering without doing anything. That's my problem with it. Yeah. I think it's an organizational thing. I think when he changes positions, he changes places, he'll be fine. Yeah. But again, if he doesn't, that's a complete he should just retire, stop there, because he's not going to do anything if he's not going to have that attitude out there on the court.
Yeah. Well, I just think that if Blake does go there, that just solidifies it even more. If Blake and Drummond goes there, bro, don't even have an NBA Finals. Give him the ring right now.
Defense is going to be so much better, like we just talked about earlier in the podcast about how they need to solidify that defensive end. It'll be much better. It already has been.
Everything will be better. If they get both of them, they could just take turns playing.
And they will. Don't worry. They
won't even be a game at that point.
If you're on a team like that, I won't care if I get to sit and play here.
We wouldn't see all 5 of them play together until the finals.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They'd be resting everybody.
Last thing I will say about NBA maybe, and then we can transfer because we got a lot about NFL recent news. Quick things. Celtics with Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, I think I actually think that's a dead end though. That came out and it was a big thing, and all of it is died pretty damn quick. The Jeremy Grant's price will be way too high. The Celtics aren't going to make an offer on him, and Jeremy Grant is going to be staying in Detroit. That's like all but official is that Jeremy Grant's not going anywhere. And Vucevic, they want too much for him, and the Celtics aren't willing. They want a piece, one of our big four, Kemba Smart, Brown, or Tatum, and the Celtics are obviously unwilling. So
I think they were talking about they preferably wanted Jalen, and the Celtics won't be willing to give that up for him.
Right. So there's no fucking way that we would like. If they want Jaylen Brown for Vucevic, that's a fucking pipe dream. And that's just disrespectful. It's disrespectful to call Danny Ainge with that.
I'll say this: I am willing to give up picks and to give up a couple of our young rookies because they're a lot of them are high potential and we can't play them all for one of these two guys. If that's enough, if we give enough value, but I'm not willing to give up one of our starters for one of these guys. And I know it sounds probably like they would never accept, but I mean, our rookies have talent, and I'd be willing to give up a couple of them that we really want in the future if we could get a guy like this to solidify that court. But I'm not willing to give up somebody. I mean, if we're just exchanging Jalen for Vucevic, that's just not going to do anything for us. That's just going to leave us exactly where we are. I mean,
we would never do that. We would never do
it, but it's basically like we're just giving up our power three, and then we're getting a guy who's just going to help us out maybe a little bit. Maybe it's like a plus or minus. It's not going to equal out to us getting up. You know what I'm saying?
They're lucky they didn't call me because if they said I'd like Grant for friggin' Jalen, like I can hear that out, but I'm not going to accept obviously. But I'll hear that out. Vucevic, Nicole, are you serious? Like
it's disrespectful to bother Danny Ainge's day with that.
Like why?
I would be. We should give up picks for Vucevic. No, none of our players are equal value. None of them.
I hate these bum ass teams coming up to like put some respect on Boston's name. Like I
just because we're struggling doesn't mean our players aren't good.
Just because we're struggling a little bit doesn't mean like all of our players are all of a sudden available. And you're coming at us with names like Vucevic. Like, come on.
Also, let me just say this. I know Vucevic is an all-star. I'm not saying he's not a bad player. He's not. He's a bad
player. Good. He's really good. He's having a good year.
He's good. He's good. He's having a good year. But I'm just saying, like, Jalen and Jason are both all-stars as well, and that's there for a reason. Don't come up to us and ask us for our all-star for your all-star. That's not how this works. It's not how this works.
Yeah.
But we'll move on because I want to talk NFL. I want to talk NFL.
JJ Watt.
Can I get a couple directives here in this one?
Go ahead.
Sure.
Arizona.
Okay. First, let me start off with Arizona. Obviously, that's the big name thing we have to touch on the most. Other things are a little small news, but JJ Watt in Arizona, I'm going to hit it right now. Yes, thank you. And
I didn't like it.
See you, Arizona. What'd you say?
Wow.
What'd you say, Jerry?
He said he didn't like it.
Okay, well, let me get there for a minute. Hold the fuck phone. Jesus Christ. Hold on. Let me talk to Justin for a minute. I love it. DeAndre's there. Kyler Murray. Huge fan of Kyler Murray. I think you are too, Justin. I don't know about Jerry.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And I know that Justin and I both very pissed off with the Bears snagging that seed from Arizona in the playoffs last season. I think Arizona is
the Redskins. The Redskins.
I mean, the Redskins did too. Oh, okay. But the Bears too got in there too.
The Bears did, yeah. I had more problem with the Redskins because they were so far below 500. But the winner of their division has to get it. So yeah, fuck that, whatever.
But we know the reasons, and I am I've never been a huge fan of Arizona. It's primarily because now the coach is with Brady, but so now I got a little more leeway with Arizona. I didn't think the coaching was good there, but I think Kyler Murray, DeAndre, and now JJ Watt, I think this team is pulling in some pieces, and I like how they got two guys that were on the same team before, played well together, I think, really fueled each other back and forth. I love the way that they're texting each other. They're saying, I believe in you. That's why I'm here. Jerry, you can say all this soft shit and everything like you want, whatever. And me personally, I mean,
I believe in you.
Oh my God, shut the fuck up.
You
ready?
Give me a break.
JJ Watt is
a
great fucking football player. And I am so happy for him to finally go to a team that can potentially do something and they're not having
contenders? You think they're contenders? Are you gonna come out here?
Can you let me talk? Can you let me talk?
Go ahead.
Because I would have finished a lot sooner if you hadn't fucking interrupted me.
Go ahead, talk.
I'm not saying they're contenders, but I think that they can make that playoff picture a lot more easily against a team like the Bears and what their seedings are looking like from what their previous season was. I think they can make it. They needed a little bit more on their defensive end. They had the offense. You saw they had that huge comeback with DeAndre Hopkins. They had some great fucking moments with Kyler Murray and DeAndre, and the way that offense was run. Drake as well. We forgot about that. And I think that with J.J. Watt on their defensive end, I'm not saying that they are going to go to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that it's not going to be another Chiefs and potentially Bucs situation. But I think Arizona can make the playoffs, get the experience that they need in that playoffs, and hopefully Kyler Murray, either with Arizona or however it works for him, because I'm really for Kyler Murray here. I want Kyler Murray. I want T.J. Watt. I want J.J. Watt. I want DeAndre Hopkins. I want them all to make the playoffs because those guys are guys that should make the playoffs. They're guys that should be experienced in the playoffs, not just making the All-Star game. That's my problem with it. I want these guys to do well. I want J.J. Watt to get that ring eventually if he can. And I don't think Arizona is the team that could potentially do it, but I think Arizona has the most potential of getting to that playoffs compared to most teams right now with what the free agency is looking like.
All right, Jerry, I need to hear what you have to say now. What the hell? What's your problem? What's your problem?
Why don't you go first?
No, I need to hear you right now, and I'll rebuttal. Go. Right. You go ahead.
All right. I love JJ Watt. I think he's a really good player, and it's not even like the move. Like, I have nothing against the Cardinals. Like, they're a good team. I like Kyler Murray. I like D-Hop. Like, I got nothing against that. But what he left on the table, I do have a little bit of a problem with.
What do you leave on the table?
Bills and Browns. I would have accepted either.
Okay, I would have preferred the Bills, and we know that you love the Browns. I would have preferred the Bills, but I think I would have preferred Arizona over the Browns.
Why?
Bigger Kyler Murray fan.
I could definitely agree with that and say no way in hell are the Browns a better team to go to than the Arizona Cardinals. No fucking way. I'm not saying
they're a better team.
Kyler Murray is way better than Baker Mayfield, and he texted Kyler Murray, like John just said. He went to Arizona and said to Kyler Murray, "I'm here because of you. I'm here because I believe in you. I don't believe in Baker." So that's simple.
Baker is not the quarterback to lead that
Browns
team.
You guys always hated Baker. You guys always hated Baker.
I don't hate Baker, but he's not a
championship player. Baker. You both hate Baker.
Hate is a strong word. Baker is just not he's just not a performing quarterback, in my opinion.
He will not win a Super Bowl. Kyler Murray's ceiling is unclear yet. He still may be able to.
All right, fine.
Baker's ceiling is clear.
Okay.
He will not win a Super Bowl.
So I'm clearly not going to win you over the Browns. But what about the Bills? Josh Allen.
I agree with you.
Okay, but before you talk about the Bills, talk about the Cardinals. What, you don't like him? You don't like Arizona even with him?
I'm just not a big fan of Arizona. I just don't think that's a team like John is saying that they're going to make like a serious playoff run, and that might be true.
I didn't say serious. I said they'd make the playoffs. I didn't say serious.
You said serious playoff run. So
no, I did not. Nope.
I think you're definitely right about the Bills. I mean, the Bills are a great team. Right now, the Bills are a better team than Cardinals, and I think they probably still will be. The Bills are probably the second best team in the AFC. So I agree that maybe the Bills would have been a better choice. But
I think he would have a better shot of getting to a Super Bowl on the AFC side than he does on the NFC side. That's personally my opinion.
I just think, in my opinion, he's looking a little bit more long-term here, and I think he thinks that Kyler Murray is going to perform at a higher level.
I don't think he's looking super long-term. I mean, his career is coming to an end here.
Not super long-term.
His career is not that long.
But I think that he, for some reason, and I don't entirely know, but I think that he believes that D-Hop is the wide receiver that if they get more guys around that offense, and Kyler Murray is the quarterback that could potentially lead that team to a playoff run. I'm not agreeing with him, but I'm saying that I would have liked to see him at the Bills as well, Jerry. I wouldn't have wanted to see him at the Browns over the Arizona.
I like J.J. Watt. I'm not necessarily against the Cardinals. Like, I think that could be a good team. But
at the end of the day, I'm happy for him, and I think he's going to still
I'm not saying I'm not happy for him. I'm just saying I would like to see him go somewhere else, personally.
All right. I got to go. So here's what I have to say. I think you said you think he had a better chance of winning a Super Bowl on the NFC side on the AFC side than on the NFC side. Absolutely not. I do not agree. Tom Brady's on his way out, and Patrick Mahomes is on his way in. So the AFC is going to be the AFC is going to be ruled for a long, long time by Patrick Mahomes, and I don't think going to the AFC would have done anything for him. I also think that maybe part of the reason he didn't want to go to Buffalo is because it's freezing ass cold all year. He didn't want to play in the snow 6 times a season, and that genuinely could have been part of it. And his best friend is in Arizona, in DeAndre Hopkins. He wants to go win a championship there. And I'll say this. I do think Arizona is contenders. I absolutely will say that I do think they could be contenders. And I don't think there's any reason why they can't be the second best team in the NFC this year. And that being said, the Bucks might not even be the number one seed because they might lose a couple games, but in the playoffs, Tom Brady is who he is. But I think that you can never count the Packers or whatever it is. I think the Cardinals
Packers,
come
Seahawks.
playoff time.
I think it's a great
I
point
think
that Justin
there's no
brings
reason
up.
the Cardinals can't be up there, and I don't think that it's because of J.J. Watt. I think J.J. Watt's a phenomenal player. He's going to help them a lot. But in his older age, J.J. Watt's not a franchise piece that's going to come in and completely turn a franchise around. I think the reason they could be a contender is because Kyler Murray is one more year older. DeAndre Hopkins is still there. They got Kenny Drake. They have a really good offense. They have a really good defense. And now you're just adding J.J. Watt to that team. That's going to be one more year experience. That's why I think they can be contenders, not just because they added J.J. Watt at 30 whatever years old.
I like Justin's point too and I just completely forgot about that. The NFC, I think there was a stat too that the AFC has been in the NFC, just which ones have won the most Super Bowls in the recent years and everything. And I think the AFC has been primarily
it's because of Tom. It's because of
Tom Brady. But what I'm saying is Tom now moving to the NFC, and we have Mahomes still there. Mahomes is, we all agree Mahomes is just going to make it to the conference championship every year, right? Hands down.
Just about.
The same level, just about. Right? That NFC, you got Drew Brees, who's literally at the end of his career. He arguably has played his last playoff season, right? At his level. He may not have that season every year from this point forward. Tom Brady, also going to keep playing, but doesn't mean he's going to keep playing at that level. Russell Wilson is not super young. Russell Wilson is still a quarterback over on that end who's got a lot of experience, but in my opinion, and you have Aaron Rodgers, who's not going to be there forever. You got 3 franchise quarterbacks who are older guys that are going to be leaving. So that's 3 teams that are superstar teams right now that are going to be on the decline after that need to rebuild. And I'm not saying he's going to be the next Russell Wilson, but I think Kyler Murray has the game that could make him compete against the Seahawks team. He is a mobile quarterback who can throw the ball like Russell can. Everyone underrates Russell because of his size, but if you look at the stats, Russell Wilson every year has had some of the best passing and has led that offense really well. Doesn't mean that the team has performed well every season, but I just think that Kyler Murray has the better chance in the NFC. And I think that if Kyler Murray had gone up against Mahomes in the AFC, or not to say that would happen, but that'd be tough. And I understand why JJ wants to go to the NFC. He probably is seeing it that way. Yeah. He probably is trying to change his atmosphere like Tom did. And I'm not going to blame a guy for that. At the end of the day, I'm not a J.J. Watt fanatic, so I'm not going to be pissed about it, but I'm happy for him at the end of the day. He made his choice, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, well, let's move on. John, I want to hear your what the fuck moment. I want to discuss it. We're getting closer to time, so we'll do this.
I got my what the fuck moment, and then I got 2 quick big things coming up. But Dak Prescott, who I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, definitely has his moments out there, but Dallas struggled this season, and
I hope he can come back healthy. He obviously had that gruesome injury.
I don't not like Dak. There's a lot of quarterbacks out there who I appreciate that they're great fucking players. They deserve to be that franchise quarterback, and I'm not saying Dak doesn't deserve it, but I'm a little appalled. I'm shocked, really, at Prescott saying that he wants to be the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL, right behind Mahomes, and he actually was contesting being the highest paid, and that he was saying that he was of equal value almost to Mahomes. That's really what he's saying at the end of the day. I don't care what he says. I don't care what other people say who are a fan of the Dallas Cowboys. You say you want to be the second paid highest quarterback, you are equalizing yourself to the best quarterback on that field and getting paid the most, which is Mahomes. It's probably one of the first times the best quarterback is getting paid the most. Mahomes is getting paid the most. And I don't think that is true. That's why I'm a little appalled, because I'll be honest with you. If I'm looking long run, I'm more willing to play Kyler Murray right at this second more money than Dak Prescott. I'm not saying that Kyler Murray is better than Dak Prescott. I just don't think Dak should be coming out here with the seasons he's been playing. Kyler came out here with the seasons he's played and has already shown that he could potentially lead this team for a couple seasons now, even more. That's what does it for me. It's the actions, not the words. You don't just go saying you're worth this money without showing it. And Dak really has not showed it in the recent years. He came out strong in his early career, but for me, that's like, I'm equating it to like Big Ben coming out here saying after the last season that he should be worth as much money as Mahomes. That's just what? You can't just have that type of season losing to these types of teams and say that you're worth that money. And I know the injury, but I just don't see it. And it kind of pisses me off at the end of the day, because it's kind of like he's comparing himself to Mahomes. And I know we put Mahomes on a pedestal, but he deserves it. There's a reason why Mahomes is put on that pedestal. He's seen as a god because he deserves it, and we've seen it in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I definitely think I think it's like almost laughable, honestly.
It is laughable
that he believes. I mean, and when you make it to that level, you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe that you're the best in the game. That's how you make it there. But I mean, it's just not. It's not even close.
There's a difference. There's a difference between saying, "Oh, I'm like Mahomes," versus saying, "I'm pretty good." You know, I'll give myself some street cred. But there's a huge difference.
I'd be interested to see what Cowboys fans feel about it, and I know that they obviously I'm sure don't want to give him anywhere near Mahomes like money. But even if it's not Mahomes like money, if you're going to pay him, clearly he's made it clear he's not going to sign for low amount of money. So it's going to be something crazy. And Mahomes is the highest paid player by a lot. So even if it's not Mahomes like money, he could still be the second best. That's the second highest paid player in the league, and make significantly less than Mahomes because Mahomes is getting paid ridiculous amounts of money. But even making, if I'm a Cowboys fan, to make Dak the second or third or even fourth, whatever it ends up being, highest paid player. If I'm a Cowboy, how do you feel about that? Would you rather let him walk, or would you rather have that on your books for the next 10 years? I don't know how I'd feel. I'd probably, I don't know. I might let him walk, especially coming off this injury. The audacity of him to ask for that kind of money when he didn't even play this year, and he just had a horrific injury. No one knows what he's going to look like when he comes back.
Do you know what's
to give him that money now?
I'd let him walk.
You know why I'd let him walk? Yeah. Because Mahomes has proven why he deserves that money. He made it to 2 Super Bowls. He won one in this past couple years of dominance for him, and he's shown that he is worth the money and that he will be a franchise quarterback who will get you consistently there like Tom Brady did for the Patriots, right? I don't see Dak. Because here's what the thing. If you pay him that money, he's there. He's staying there. And you have tied yourself up with him. That's a marriage right there. Right?
What if he comes back? What if he comes back and is never the same after the injury too?
Right, and you're paying him that money.
Even fully healthy, I wouldn't even want to give him that money.
And you're paying him that money. You should honestly just try and just get a better draft pick in the future. Let him walk. Try and get a trade, something. Because I'm telling you right now, I'd keep him for a couple years at a high price, but nothing like Mahomes. No way, bro. He can't perform like that, especially after the injury. I agree with you. Let him walk.
I just have like a problem with it. It's not necessarily like. Again, like Justin made a good point. I don't mind you advocating for yourself, but I do have a problem with it when you have legit no ground to stand on. Like you just got injured. You're comparing yourself to a guy that just faced the greatest QB of all time in the Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl the previous year, and has
an MVP.
And has an MVP, and he's probably taking his team to a conference championship or Super Bowl every season. You're comparing yourself to that guy after you just got injured. Like, of course, the injury is not your fault, but you can't just come out here and be like, yeah, I think I'm worth that much.
And let's be honest.
Show me something.
His seasons when he was healthy are nothing spectacular next to Mahomes.
It's not even close. He's never made a playoff run.
I would never pay him.
So he has no argument. He has no evidence to show that he is worth that money. Now, not to say that
average. Right now, he is a average QB at best.
Yeah, I agree.
I would not want to give him even top 5 quarterback money. Not even close to it. He's not even a top 10 quarterback right now.
No, I mean, I don't think he is. He hasn't done anything. Like at this point, like I'm sorry, personally, I think you could be a top 5 QB, but you haven't done anything to show it. So
I think maybe you could have after the injury. I don't know.
I don't even know.
For me, there's superstar quarterback, very good and good. He is between good and meager for me, right in there. He's not very good. I'm telling you right now. There's no reason why you should because look, stats don't always do it for you, and his stats are good, but his stats are not. Oh my God, he's better than every quarterback right now, and he's coming out the gun, throwing huge balls down the field. He's making his team to the playoffs. That's not a very good quarterback. That's a very good quarterback, and he's good.
And I feel like his numbers don't necessarily impact winning either. So that's never a good sign. That's never a good sign. Because there are natural winners, and I don't want to say natural losers, but we'll just call it they're natural winners. He's not one of them. He's not one of them. Russell Westbrook, exactly. He's not one of them. You can put up all the stats of the world, but you have to impact winning. You have to make your team better. And I just don't see him as that. I agree. I think we're all on the same page.
At the end of the day, you need to be a quarterback that puts your stats on the line to win the game. You're gonna try and get your team to win the game before you start trying to make these stats and get to the 10,000 yards per season. You know what I'm saying? And he doesn't even make that mark because he doesn't even make the impact on his team. And even when he was off the field of the injury, I don't think he made an impact when he was injured either. A lot of players like J.J. Watt, even when they were injured, at least made an impact on that bench. A lot of players do.
I think this thing you just got to realize is, look, you can advocate for yourself. I have no problem with anyone advocating for themselves. That's fine, especially when you played like a season and you might have done some things and you're like, you know what? I think I'm worth big money. I don't mind you doing that. Dude, you just came off an injury. The Cowboys historically are just not a good team. So until you've done something worth bragging about, which can even be like getting to a conference championship. Like it doesn't even need to be the Super Bowl thing, but you have legit no ground to stand on in comparing yourself to the guy who's made the Super Bowl the last three seasons, right? Last 3 seasons.
2, but yeah, he's made conference championship 3. Yeah.
2. So conference championship the last 3 seasons, ridiculous. Like absolutely ridiculous. And comparing yourself to a guy who's probably going to dominate the league. So I would have been more okay if he phrased it just as, look, I'm looking for a bigger paycheck this year. I don't even know if I notice it. I'd probably just be like, that's kind of.
Well, no one would argue with him because he probably wants a little bit more money to stay. That's it.
But I would just be like, okay, that's fine. Like, all right, whatever. Like, I don't know.
But when you say I'm as good as him,
I'm as good as. Yeah, when you're like, I'm as good as the guy who might be the next
Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Pack your bags and fucking leave the United States of fucking America. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Now let me say, we can move on. I got a couple quick things to throw at you and we can finish up.
Quick.
Yeah.
All right. First of all, Alex Smith released. Absolutely, for me, devastating.
He's probably done too, which sucks.
He's probably
he's
done,
not going to get signed anywhere else.
I think I'm happy for him. He made his comeback. You know,
he won comeback player of the year. I'm super happy he got back on the field. But
I've always respected his game, and I'm honestly, I gotta, Redskins made it at the end of the day. I'm happy they made it because they had that below 500 record. No, but he made it. Well, arguably for the last time in the playoffs. I'll throw it away and accept it, but. He's released. He's probably not going to make it to another team because no one wants to take.
But you know what? You know what the thing about him is. You know what the thing about him is. His legacy will be carried on through Patrick Mahomes. He's the reason. He's a big part of the reason why Mahomes is what he is, and Mahomes is 99% of it. But Mahomes sitting that year, his rookie year, behind Alex Smith teaching him, mentoring him, everything 100%. He did for him. Alex Smith was huge for Patrick Mahomes, 100%. And he'll be able to enjoy watching him for the next 20 years. So I'm happy for him. Everything he's done is just incredible.
And Alex Smith, unfortunately, won't be signed again because no one wants to take a liability on a guy whose leg got broken in 26 plus places. And
he should retire on his own too. He should want to be done. Like he should just be happy that his legs are healthy.
He has a nice family. He should want to live. He should want to live.
Man, if he were to ever get injured again. Just playing in trash minutes for a bad team, I feel so bad. He should just retire on a high note. He won comeback player of the year.
100%.
Go out like that.
Next on that list, we have the Giants release Golden Tate, who's not a bad wide receiver, and David Mayo, the linebacker. So these all two for Pat's discussion as well at another time. But I'm just going to throw them out there. Saints terminate the contracts for Jared Cook and Josh Hill. They're big 2 tight ends. So it looks like their tight end situation is going to look a lot different. Kyle Rudolph has been released by the Vikings, and Kyle Van Noy has been told that he will be released by the Dolphins soon. So my whole thing with this,
he was released too. Kyle Rudolph and Kyle Van Noy, I'd take both of them in New England.
Come back.
So what I'm saying with this is, I think the Patriots need one more piece on defense, and I would not hate to have Kyle Van Noy back. I don't think any of us would, and I think he should come back because I think he's signed with teams that have had Patriots links. I mean, David Flores and Dolphins, he'll probably want to come back to the Patriots. And here's another thing for me, and I know it's probably a lot of money for the Pats, but I think we have to put our money on it because our tight end situation, we have been always a tight end rounded team with some good wide receivers, and our tight end situation is not ideal right now. I can understand one of our tight ends right now, but we need one veteran guy like when we had Bennett. I think we should, honestly, my opinion is I'm fine with signing Cook because he'll probably take less money. But I think we should shoot for Rudolph Because there's a guy
I'd
who
be
just
happy
got
with
released from
either
a
of them.
great team.
Yeah.
There's a guy who just got released from a team that had kept him for so long, and he probably is out there to want back in this game. And he might even want to sign for a little bit less because I don't think he even had that stellar of a season. And I think we should shoot for guys like we need a tight end first. We maybe need to go for a guy like Golden Tate. We probably need another linebacker like David Mayo or Kyle Vanoy, and we probably have a better chance at snagging Vanoy because he's got experience with us. And so what I'm saying is these are all releases that benefit us if we capitalize on them. And if Belichick doesn't, I have a serious problem with the organization on that side because these are easy chances here. We can give up picks. We really need to get some veteran experience here. No more rookies. Like we've experienced the rookies on the wide receiver.
It won't even take picks now that they're all been
released.
They're just got to sign them. So I agree. I think that's a great point.
You can just sign them.
Pick up the phone and make some calls and make it happen because any of these guys would be great additions.
Kyle Rudolph.
And don't sleep on Dante Hightower and Patty Chung and all the 8 guys that sat out this year, all coming back to our team too. So don't sleep on the Pats, man. We just got to figure out our quarterback situation. If we can get somebody decent throwing that football, don't sleep on the Pats. We're going right back to the Super Bowl.
And last point before we wrap up, Big Ben got signed again, which is no surprise at the end of the day. Still hate him. But here's the big thing that I read and I'm a little shocked about. Russell Wilson has had some discussions. I don't know if he's had direct discussions, but the Bears have expressed interest in signing him, and the Seahawks have not really said no, outward. They don't know what to give or get in return. They don't know the value to get in return from what the Bears have, but it seems like this seems kind of like a Harden situation where, I mean, you wouldn't believe that he doesn't want to leave. You wouldn't believe he'll get traded, but he may end up leaving Seahawks.
Which I don't understand what Seattle's thinking. How could you possibly look at that team and think Russell Wilson's the problem? He's the only thing going right. Like, what are you doing?
Tell you right
him
now,
and DK Metcalf, like,
if you look at a guy's stats year in, year out, like we just said with Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson is a guy who performs day in, day out at a high level.
And it's not even stats. It's like I was just talking about.
It's the team.
He impacts winning. And Russell Wilson impacts winning. He wins games. That is everything. You have a winner on your team and you want to get rid of him? This guy has been everything for that organization. I can't imagine. He won a Super Bowl there. I don't know why they think he's the issue. I don't know. I don't understand that at all. If they really are going to get rid of him, I don't know what that is.
If the Seahawks want to rebuild and just have a terrible season and let the Bears just capitalize on a pickup like that, then that's what you're doing. You're giving the Bears a great quarterback to work with. Because
who's got a lot left in the tank. I don't think Wilson's anywhere near the end of what he's got. I don't know what their Seahawks are thinking.
I think that Bears offense and defense, if they position it right, could just look like a Seahawks kind of style team, and Russell will fit right into there if they do it right. I just don't know why you would want to get rid of him. Like, I understand that maybe you're frustrated with the way your team has played at the end of that season, but come on, you can't blame Russell Wilson. Like, I mean, Pete Carroll was the one who made the decision to fucking throw the ball in that Super Bowl. Like, it seems like we have a consistent thing here. Pete Carroll was on the Patriots. I mean, Pete Carroll has made a lot of mistakes in organizations, and I'm not saying Pete Carroll shouldn't be the coach. I'm just saying that you should look to your coach first.
I am.
Why? How are you going to get rid of Wilson before you're going to fire Carroll? Are you kidding?
I just think you need to look at your coaching before you look at your players. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the time, people forget that the coaches – people think the coaches are always right. That's the thing, because we always side with the organization. And I'll be honest with you, we can't always say that Belichick has been right, because the Jimmy Garoppolo situation, which really wasn't all, there was a whole thing in that. But it's kind of like that. We can't say Belichick is the perfect coach and he hasn't made his mistakes. But you need to look at this as it's not your players' fault. At the end of the day, they played a stellar season. They still made the playoffs. But the reason they lost a lot of those games is coaching at the end of the day. Coaching. You're still there to provide for your team, and that's all I have to say on it. I just think this will be the biggest mistake for the Seahawks. I'll be so pissed at this because I love Russell, and I want Russell to make it to another playoff potential if he can before his career is absolutely done. And I don't see it with the Bears, honestly. I don't. I see it with the Seahawks, him finishing it off with the Seahawks, and the Bears are just not that team. And I think it'll hurt him in the end, whether he fits in or not. So, just not ideal. Not ideal.
Yeah.
We had the Red Sox discussion, which I think we'll just push to next week when spring training gets a little bit more in.
Next week. I think the only thing we'll say about that is rip the Boston Red Sox, rip the JBJ, Mookie, and Benintendi.
Yeah.
The greatest outfield to ever play.
Yes, sir. So, but we're all out of time for this week. So if you made it this far, you've obviously liked something. like and subscribe. And boys, it was great talking to you today.
Talk to you,
man.
boys.
It's been real.
Sounds good,
Peace.
boys. Peace.